Ever since I started playing Monster Hunter, I've always relied on YouTube for a variety of things. Learning how to play the game and its complex weapons, finding the most optimal builds, being amazed by insane speedrunners, and finally, as a way to explore the older games in the franchise and the in-depth lore of the series. But I've also done YouTube and content creation before, with a channel with a couple thousand followers and a couple 100,000 views. And one of the main things I noticed about Monster Hunter is how content about the game and ultimately being a Monster Hunter YouTuber is flawed, and here's why. So for me, one of the main reasons why Monster Hunter content is kind of a bit interesting and different in a way is due to, I think, the game's unique size, but also its limited scope in a sense. Because, look, obviously Monster Hunter is massive now. It's Capcom's best-selling series with over 100+ million copies sold over its entire lifespan. But in a sense, the scope of the games and each of the games is still kind of like limited in a sense. Like, it's finite. And that's fine and all, right? And that's how most games are nowadays. There's very few games that have such unlimited potential for content. But it's also like the fact that there's still enough stuff about Monster Hunter coming out, like new games or new title updates or new spin-off games. Like, there's still enough about the series that there's still enough to be making content about, but it's not like enough like that most people could see themselves being a successful YouTuber from Monster Hunter alone. And to clarify my point, I kind of want to compare Monster Hunter to, say, some other games and other content. So obviously, if you imagine it on like a spectrum, right? I would say a game that obviously has more potential for content would be something like Minecraft, which is quite easy, right? As obviously the game, despite having less frequent updates, is a game where its premise is present to a wide variety of ideas and content about it, right? In the addition of obviously also mods as well, which increase the capabilities of the game. And then another game or type of game I would like to compare it to would be something like gacha games, which are inherently probably less content heavy, but through the amount of live service stuff there is and on how many games there are about it, there's always content to be made about them. Whilst probably not the most original content and most imaginative, it still is content to be made about because there's stuff coming out about it. But Monster Hunter kind of is just a bit different in a sense, because it is itself an own individual game. Like, this is such a hard thing to kind of like verbalize, but like it's like still large enough, but the scope of the game and is in a sense kind of limited in terms of content, because there's not a lot of creative expression you can get through the game as much compared to say other games, and there's not enough content as well sometimes. But it's such as like the dry spurts where there's no new games or no new updates or anything for people to make videos about. And so the question is then, what type of content is there actually on YouTube if there's such limited content? And my point is that there still is a lot, but obviously there are some problems with that as well. So I'm going to give my quick opinions on those. So firstly, obviously the most common type I feel of Monster Hunter content is probably just gameplay videos. Like, they're the most easiest to make and they're just people playing through the game. Obviously some might put a spin on it, maybe like 100 days of playing the game or playing just the expansions or whatnot. But generally gameplay videos are still one of the main forms of content for Monster Hunter. Obviously though, there's a whole other issue of the idea that kind of just playing gameplay videos are kind of a dying genre on YouTube. Like, I feel like if you're not a new or established creator, you can't really make those types of videos and expect to see success on YouTube. But that's fine. Obviously, some people aren't looking for success. But anyway, I'm just analyzing Monster Hunter content as a whole on YouTube. The next two types of content I kind of want to talk about is firstly build videos and speedrunning videos. And this is kind of interesting because I feel like if you become a Monster Hunter YouTuber, a lot of the time people get stuck. You kind of have to make a video, or you have to make videos if you're making guides about your specific weapon that you main, because that's the one you're the most knowledgeable in and have the most understanding of all the tech, the mechanics, the best weapon skills for it, the best armor skills for it. Like, in a sense then, your audience is then limited to the people that also main the weapon. So instead of attracting the whole Monster Hunter community in a sense and having that as your audience, you only really have the people that play your weapon as well, or maybe people that want to try the weapon as well. But again, like, if any of you played the games, you understand the kind of switch and trying to build a whole new set for a whole new weapon. It is a very high resource, and most people won't do that once they've found their main. So again, that's another limitation on Monster Hunter content, because this is not like, say, like, I don't know, something like Valorant, where, like, in a sense, yes, all the agents are different in a way, but You can still, you just point and click, right? There's still videos about that, just aiming stuff, right? That targets the whole audience. The Monster Hunter, right? All the weapons function basically differently. And in a sense, it's hard to make, and then for all the YouTubers that do make builds for multiple weapons, yes, they are good, but obviously the ones that are dedicated kind of players for those weapons, such as say like, I think for longsword there's Peppo, they're like cracked, right? Those are like dead, and Aris is for greatsword, right? They're like dedicated for that specific weapon. And so since they're kind of limited, obviously then as well, another rant is that some weapons obviously are more popular than others, and in the perspective of a general Monster Hunter viewer, these weapons will gain prevalence versus say less flashy and less interesting weapon. For example, right? Say look at like Aris. Aris is probably one of the bigger Monster Hunter creators, and they just made a greatsword, right? I don't even play greatsword, but I watch the videos because I respect the gameplay. But I'm gonna be real, like who would watch a Lance speedrun video? Like, it's not the most flashy weapon, it's not the most interesting in a sense, but still a good weapon, and there's still people that play it to a very high level. But overall, from a general viewer's point, they're probably not going to be as interested. So again, that's another kind of flaw of the game. Also though, there is kind of another area of content that is a bit less impacted by obviously new games and the ideas for needing content updates and other stuff, and that's kind of more video essays and analysis of the game in itself. Obviously we have videos such as, you know, lore on the game, it's on the game and its universe, which is quite in-depth actually, and also video essays on the design of the game and its design philosophies in terms of its monsters, the weapons, the overall gameplay, the different weapons and other stuff. So like, for example, one of my favorite ones is this guy, Monster Hunter, I haven't replaced the name, but I'll put the name on screen. And that's kind of the content that I think is a bit better, but is also very hard to produce for a normal person if they were trying to be a creator for Monster Hunter. And it's something that takes a great deal of effort and time to make versus other videos, right? So overall, it's these kind of last two topics, the kind of the lore video and the video essays, kind of show that there is more to Monster Hunter content that is potential. And that's kind of where my goal of this channel comes in. My goal of this channel is to try and maybe make some more Monster Hunter content that is more unique. Like for example, obviously I have the reshade video for Monster Hunter Wilds. I'll probably make an updated one potentially when I come back to the game. And I've also got like photography videos which I made previously. And also like I want to make more videos about like either Monster Hunter or using Monster Hunter as a medium to tell more interesting stuff, and just try and make content that's just a bit different than the norm. Because I think also there's a level of like kind of slop sometimes with Monster Hunter content. Like Rage Gaming is definitely like the biggest probably Monster Hunter channel, but it's also like very like just like very repetitive, like very like basic stuff, and I don't kind of want to make content like that. And there's some other stuff like I know it's kind of hypocritical after making kind of a basic gameplay video and some videos about the Wilds thing, kind of following a bit trends, but I just want to try and do some different stuff. But overall, going forward, I want to make some more interesting videos that kind of explore Monster Hunter in a bit of a different way, and some more interesting content about the game that I feel like is not as well represented. So say for example, I might do some Wilds modding showcases, because I feel like some of the mods in this game are very good, but they're just not shown enough. And yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Definitely check around for the streams I'll be doing. Be playing mainly Rise and Monster Hunter World at the moment, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, thank you guys for listening, and thank you again for all the support. Comment if you relate maybe to these kinds of videos and understanding that the difference and uniqueness of Monster Hunter content. And yeah, see you guys soon.